Ewan Parson, what the hell's going on with the Arkham franchise where we have one of the best installments in it and none of us are actually going to play it?
Yeah, this is the situation with Batman Arkham Shadow, which if you're not really in the Batman Arkham fandom, you'd probably be like, what? Batman Arkham Shadow? What is this? I thought Suicide Squad came along and was like, hey, Batman Arkham. You know that bit in Sicario 2 when Benicio del Toro is like doing that with the gun. He's like finger fire. Oh, like Jean-Claude Van Damme in Hard Target where he's like,
just taking him out.
Completely perforating the corpse of the franchise. But no, it's
How
alive
was
and
Suicide
well.
Squad this year, by the way?
That started. It set a tone.
It did a little bit, yeah.
It really did. But yeah, Batman Arkham Shadow came out this week, developed by Camouflage, who you may remember did the Iron Man VR game from a few years back. And people in the Arkham fandom have been very looking forward to this because over the course of the last few months, Camouflage developers have been holding Q&As. There's a fan channel called Batman Arkham Videos, which has been around for years and years. Does lots of great work on the Arkham series. They were holding Q&As, and it really shone through that they had like a real big affection and love for this series. And that's evident in the game itself. It's actually really, really well done for a VR title. It's set after Arkham Origins, so people like me who love that game, you're being serviced here after like years of non-acknowledgement of that prequel by Warner Brothers Games Montreal. We've now got a new Batman Arkham title, which is acknowledging the events of that game and the Cold Heart DLC, which is inspired by the Heart of Ice episode from Batman Animated Series. And the prequel handheld game, Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. So there's lots of stuff going in on there. We'll get into some of the minutiae of why this game is like touching all the right buttons for me. But overall, it's just nice to have an indication, a sign of life, that Batman Arkham is not dead.
Someone over there knows what they're doing. That's one of the wider conversation points here, is that we do have, mainstay Warner Brothers, main hub of Warner Brothers pushing forward with Suicide Squad. It's not going very well at all. You might have noticed over on Steam that the game currently has, I think it's like an 80% sale, dropping all the way down to $11.99, just trying to get people in. Obviously the player numbers are very, very low. They were away from launch. And that seemed to be the way that Warner Brothers, they took Rocksteady, pushing towards live service elements, etc. That game was just released as a bit of a fire and continues to be a bit of a smolder as well.
13 Brainiacs!
The 13 Brainiac endless final boss. So you've got that as one strand that reality played out. And then you've got the other half, which is Arkham Shadow. But it's a VR-only, meta-only title, which really sucks because the game is reviewing incredibly well. Way better than Suicide Squad. And it does have, obviously it's in VR, so it's first person, but you have first person free flow combat, way better detective mechanics, like way more of an Arkham feel to it. And obviously Suicide Squad wasn't necessarily an Arkham game, but it did have some of the Arkham DNA in there, whether that's Kevin Conroy's performance or just the general setting of it. Like, it's still in the Arkhamverse. So there is that wider talking point of like, because this is doing so much better, do we then, I mean, according to Nick Baker over on Xbox Hero, we are getting a new Arkham game anyway. So this is promising, but it is insane that both these games released in the same day and are polar opposites of where the franchise should have gone.
That's the thing, it's the feeling of lost potential. I think I said to you the other day that like we should have had 3 Batman Arkham games since Arkham Knight came out, and Arkham Shadow for me was the easy sequel that could have been made for Arkham Origins. Had all this stuff involving, WB Games Montreal. They had a bunch of games cancelled. They had that Damian Wayne title, which I'm still mourning the death of years after that news came out. But yeah, this is everything to me that I want from a Batman game. The only catch being that it is VR, and it's also a meta quest. So you have like the player base of like Batman Arkham is huge, and you make it VR, and then you put it on the Zux VR machine, and then it's even tinier. But there's some really cool stuff in here that I want to talk about. They actually, and there are some mild spoilers here, it's not massive, but for any Batman fans who grew up with the animated series or are more familiar with the comics, they really layer in some great kind of homages and nods to that. So like the opening of the game has you assuming Bruce Wayne's alter ego of Matches Malone, his criminal undercover alter ego persona, and then half the game then switches into you going into Blackgate Prison, going undercover as Matches Malone, having a whole day cycle where you're in there trying to discover the identity of the Rat King, who's kind of having his own revolution in Gotham City, and then by night, you slink out of your little cell and become Batman and go and explore Gotham City, which has been lovingly recreated from Arkham City and Arkham Origins. There are whole areas of that map that you can explore in VR. The opening has you in the Bowery, so by the Penguin Museum, the little kind of shopping center that's like beneath there, and you can like walk around, and it's just so and the amount of stuff they pull from Origins is great, like the specific details of character arcs and such. We get a whole big thing involving Two-Face here, which is amazing. More fleshing out of Batman's backstory pre him becoming Batman. Lots of great Alfred moments. Overall, it's just what everyone wanted from a Batman game, just with the catch being that it's VR, although a good VR game.
We should talk about VR in general, because I feel like it feels like VR came out, obviously on the Sony side, the PSVR 2, they stopped production of the PSVR 2 to try and get through the stock that they had put out there. So there was an indication that the market hadn't responded too well to VR overall, but there are so many VR projects. And obviously something like this would have been in production for a good few years, predating the story that I just mentioned. But it is interesting. Like, is VR this thing that's going to get there eventually, or is it continuing to be this niche idea? And if Josh Brown was here, he'd be kicking down the walls to say it's worth it, it's the future.
The future is here.
The future's right here. And I've told him to his face, I don't believe him. We've done various videos on it. What do you think, Ewan, about the state of VR and whether, I mean, it's just a side thing, but just that the general state of the peripherals and whether it matters?
The interesting thing with Arkham Shadow is that it's, we talked about, Batman Arkham VR, which was the Rocksteady attempt from 2016, which was quite bare bones in terms of what it was able to accomplish. And obviously at that point, VR gaming was kind of in its infancy. Yeah. Whereas with Arkham Shadow, you have a considered attempt at bringing across all the different facets of the Batman Arkham formula. So you have the free flow combat, you have the invisible predator sections, and you have, the actual like mystery and detective gameplay. So all the different core facets of the Arkham series are there, but not on the layer of depth and kind of it's immersive, but in terms of giving you the full kind of environmental experiences and senses that you would get from playing like an Arkham Asylum or an Arkham City. It's not quite there. And I think the interesting discussion with VR about it being the ultimate end point and conclusion for where gaming is all going, for me, that kind of overlooks the idea of gaming and having cinematic qualities. Like if we're watching a movie, we aren't watching it in first person, we're experiencing it in different ways. So that's not to say that immersion should be the ultimate end goal with everything. It shouldn't have to be like, we're going to put you in the cowl of this person. I kind of enjoy having the diversity of having, we can have a third-person action game, we can have, different ways of exploring things. I do think as the technology improves, it will become more of a pillar of the industry, but as it exists right now, it's still a niche, it's still a novelty, although it's coming along very impressively.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they are still making strides. Like, I kind of thought that, not that it was done because there's too much money invested in it. Like it's either on the Meta side, the Valve side, the PlayStation side. Like it is trundling along, but I feel like it's in the background. And then you get a release like this that is just genuinely like, I want to play that, but I'm not going to fork out the money for the additional hardware. I'm personally not going to then go play it. But I'm curious how many people, end up getting into VR because of something like this, or maybe wait for like a home console version. Like there are some PSVR games that then got home console releases. And I'm just curious how it goes. I think in regards to the wider Arkham series, it'll be a good few years before they course correct. Like it's going to take some time to even figure out what the hell, Rocksteady do next. Like, they had a multiplayer game in production.
Failed you.
I failed you. You can't even lift a bloody live service game. And I'm curious how that stuff shakes out. What's your wider thoughts on the future of the entire thing?
Well, Warner Brothers hurt me personally over the course of several years now, thanks to Zaslav.
Dragon Ball gut punch.
I have no idea where this is all going. We obviously know that Warner Brothers Montreal are working on another DC game. There's the Wonder Woman title coming from the Shadow of Mordor developers, Monolith,
which apparently is on fire, according to Kind of Funny's Greg Miller. But
and then I mean, it's one of those things where like I hope there is a future for these games. Arkham Shadow strikes me as a really kind of labor of love effort from Camouflage, and I would hope that there was enough constructive feedback from Suicide Squad that if Rocksteady is working on a new Batman Arkham title, that it knows where and where not to go.
You would hope so.
That is my main hope. Overall, though, it's going to take a lot to make up for the fact that we've had like 9 years of weirdness involving Warner Brothers' own studios and the Batman Arkham series in particular. But Arkham Shadow, good game, really fun. I'm glad it exists, and I hope that maybe in the future, maybe this tells Warner Brothers that we should remaster Arkham Origins, because you still cannot play that game on the current generation of consoles, insane. Which is ridiculous. It really does frustrate me. I got a memory on my Facebook today of Ewan in 2013
Remember when you were happy?
playing Arkham Origins right now. Yes, it's amazing. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, 2013 Ewan was correct and is vindicated. And I hope that maybe Warner Brothers are out there and go, you know what, Arkham Origins, let's bring it back.
Maybe we should remaster / reheat those talking points. We've done many videos on how Arkham Origins has aged the best across the last 10 years, and is the one.
I was there in the trenches at the beginning. I was there.
We didn't believe him. But it is worth saying that yes, Arkham Origins always had the quality. It's always worth playing. It should have a new release. It is backwards compatible on Xbox if you happen to have an Xbox. But fingers crossed. I have hope that if someone like BioWare can resurrect themselves, and we don't know yet, but with Dragon Age: The Veilguard, then maybe Rocksteady can too.